The video I'm about to show you illustrates a fundamental problem with the fourth wave feminist movement in Nigeria.
Gender roles exist for a reason and it should be maintained.
I don't think I fully buy into that, but the fact that you don't buy into something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. However, we can clearly see that there are certain things that people are more predisposed to do than the others.
Based on what?
I mean,
Who decides
Give
that?
me an example. Cooking. Predisposed to who?
There's actually scientific evidence to back up the fact that gender roles exist, much to her surprise, I would guess. The Scandinavian countries, which is Norway, Denmark, Sweden, so they are the most egalitarian societies. What that means is that they are the societies that have made the most progress in equality. Women are treated more equally in Scandinavian societies than the rest of the world because they have made the most progress in humanity when it comes to gender equality. Now, what happened as a result of that is actually the opposite of what the typical feminist would claim. What I mean by typical, I mean these loudmouths on Twitter. So now the results observed from these Scandinavian countries is that the differences between men and women maximized. In these countries where women are much more free than the rest of the world, women tend to do the jobs that are typically what you would expect a woman to do, funny enough. So what that means is that if you leave women and men to sort themselves by themselves, they tend to choose different things. Let me go over that again. What I mean is that if you leave a man and a woman and give them all the options in the world, they will probably pick different things. And that's just what it is. That's what gender roles are. The reason why women are not carpenters is not because men are stopping them to be carpenters, it's because generally that's not the kind of thing that is attractive to a woman. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against women representation in the STEM field. I'm totally for it. If you're a woman and you want to be an engineer, you want to be a scientist, more power to you. But the fact that there are more men in the STEM field and there are more women in the healthcare field is a result of mostly the free choice of men and women. It's not like there's a society of tyrannical men that are forcing men in the stem cells and forcing women in healthcare. It's not so. Men and women are... I don't really get. I think one of the most significant things about women is the fact that they are not men. So I don't understand when it's very difficult for some people to see the difference between men and women. I'm not saying they are not equal. I'm saying they are not the same. There's a difference between those two statements. We are equal, or at least we are striving to be equal, but we are really not the same.
I mean, you have to let me finish.
Okay, finish.
When I say people are predisposed to something,
Yes.
I mean, for example, I don't know what you do,
Okay.
right? But a career path could be good for you, but not good for me. I mean, not everybody can be doctors.
Fair
not
enough.
everybody can be lawyers. There's a thing that people actually say that the other gender is quite emotional. Excuse me. So
The
I
other
don't...
gender?
Wait, hold on.
We don't have
hold
the
on,
data.
hold on. So I'm not talking about it from the standpoint of it being a bad thing that women are emotional.
You didn't specify
Hold
what gender,
on,
so I'm not
hold
going
on.
to assume. So what gender are you talking about?
You only have... I don't want to say that, but
What gender are you talking about? Help me out. You said...
So I think he made a mistake by falling into the whole politically correct trap. Because it's obvious. I mean, it's funny that nobody considers the fact that when people say things like women are more emotional than men, it's not like we found it in a forum. Most of the time, what happens is that you just observe your immediate surroundings and you realize that, oh, these women are acting different and they're acting more emotional than the typical man would act in the same situation, and you made up your mind. And then when you now come on Twitter and say women are more emotional than men, it turns out that a lot of people agree with you because that's the same thing they noticed in their immediate circles, like in their immediate environment. But for these radical feminists, their interpretation to that is they have to be like a cabal of toxic, masculine, patriarchal men that are imposing their will on the society. But it's really not so. Some of these things, we came to the conclusion independently. Like,
hold on.
We don't have
hold
the
on,
data.
hold on. So I'm not talking about it from the standpoint of it being a bad thing that women are emotional.
You didn't specify
Hold
what gender,
on,
so I'm not
hold
going
on.
to assume. So what gender are you talking about?
You only have... I don't want to say that, but...
What gender are you talking about? Help me out. You said the other gender. You said male or female.
The genders we accept in Nigeria.
So what gender is the emotional one?
okay,
Say it.
okay,
Now you
wait.
bring them. Talk them now.
Hold on.
so we can actually see an example right before our eyes where there's someone talking really loudly and not making any point, and there's someone trying to make a point and is being talked over by someone else. In that situation, one person is being more emotional than the other, and it's not the dude. And it coincides with everything the guy was trying to say.
Please, Suits, come forward.
Before you continue what you need to say, I want to make you understand something. First, yelling does not mean you're winning an argument.
Okay.
Secondly, I'm sounding like a naive person who wants to understand what you believe. So you educate me now, right?
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm in my early 30s.
You're in your early 30s. You don't need me to educate you on gender roles. You don't need me to educate you on feminism. You don't need me to educate you on any fucking thing. For you to come here, you have a phone. You have eyes to see what's going on in the world. I would not educate you. You're a grown-ass man. You know fully well what's right and what's wrong. That's why you chose that side.
So I think this is the fundamental problem with the fourth wave feminist movement in Nigeria, because I think a lot of them are motivated by hate, and that is what the lady here is just showcasing. She hasn't really given her opposition an opportunity to make his case, and she just went ahead to insult like ASAP. So I think the fourth wave feminists in Nigeria are mostly just a bunch of women that are angry with men, or at least that's what they proclaim with their talking points. A lot of their talking points are centered around demonizing men, and I think that's just wrong because, I mean, like, how many things did men not create in this world? From everything that you're enjoying, how many of them were not created by men? Like, the reason why I phrased it that way is because it's easier to count the things that are not made by men than to count the ones that are made by men. So we owe a lot of things to men. So demonizing men as a gender, it's totally wrong.
My name is Paul Rudiment. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own a bodyguard team. I'm a professional drummer and entertainer.
Yeah, well, this guy is doing a lot of things, man. It's funny the amount of stress that the country has put on us, that for an individual to survive, he has to be doing like 14 things. It's crazy.
I can't be talking ill of women. I love women. I'm a makeup artist and my clients are women. The Nigerian feminist idea or movement, their umbrella is flagging around. Their flag is everywhere. And what they're after is fighting men, trying to yoke equality with men.
I totally have no issues with all what he's saying right now. But I think the place where he and I would have a different opinion would be the thing about equality. So there are lots of advantages to treating women equal, or at least believing that women are equal to men. There are lots of advantages to that. The societies that have allowed women into their workforce are doing better than the societies that haven't. I think that the right direction for the society to go is in the direction of treating women more equally. If we are to be honest with ourselves, we have to understand and accept the fact that there are very evil men out there that maltreat women. So now I went to buy something at Jabi with one of my friends, and so because she speaks Hausa and I don't, I wanted to make a purchase from a Hausa vendor. So what happened was that when I told her to go and speak Hausa to the guys so that they can, favor me with the prices and all, what happened was that those guys didn't even look at her. So now there are men that treat women like that. They exist. So I understand that feminists, in some sense, they are being too loud and everywhere, and some of them are saying nonsense. Like that's true. I'm not just. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Some feminists out there are just saying nonsense, but at the core of that, there's still a just cause. There are women that are actually suffering at the hands of men in this country. Like I don't think it's reasonable to argue against that. It's true. And as for that specifically, we need to improve. There are so many men in this country that don't believe that women should have a certain level of exposure because it makes them erratic and impulsive and whatnot. But I don't think that is a reasonable standpoint. I think that if someone is going to stay with you, like in terms of a relationship, the person should stay with you because she wants to stay with you, not because she's unable to leave. And a lot of men are using that to their advantage, and they are keeping women against their will, but it's not like it's a kidnapping situation. It's a situation where they're like preventing the women from gaining some attributes or gaining some level of exposure so that they don't know too much and maybe outsmart them. That's what they think. I don't think that, and I don't agree with that.
Before feminism came into play, there was no child wife. You didn't have an option to be a career woman. Mm-hmm. Feminism fought against the very thing that happened, which is being a traditional wife or a stay-at-home wife. Now,
not really, because a lot of women were doing their own things. They had their own farms and their own cattle. I lived in the village, so I have a fair idea of what I'm talking about. Women had their own farms. They did trade. They did a lot of things. So I don't think it's particularly true that the only option for women in Nigeria was just to be a stay-at-home wife. Most of our grandmothers were traders. That's a profession. And I understand it's not the same thing like being an engineer, but she wasn't staying at home. She used to go to market on market days, and she did a lot. But also, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, feminism opened a lot of opportunities for women in places that typically women were not allowed to enter.
Being a mother is not the biggest fulfillment in the world. You can be a mother. It is.
Hold.
Being a mother is probably one of the greatest fulfillments in the world. If you think I'm wrong, it's probably because you don't have money yet. And once you have money, you realize that being a mother is actually one of the greatest fulfillments in the world. And let me make a case so you see how obvious this is. There's hardly anything that is more valuable than another human being. What is more valuable than a human being? Your career. Your career that needs other human beings to do it. I mean, like, you can't really have a world without human beings, and you can't cast a dim light on the ability to keep that going, the ability to repopulate the earth. Like, look at all the great people in the world that you can think of. One of the most common thing about them is that they all had a mother. Without their mothers, all those great men that we sing of, Jesus, Mohammed, Alexander the Great, everybody that has walked this planet had a mother. And without that, nothing great, like all the great things that those people did couldn't have been accomplished if they weren't born. So saying giving birth is not among the greatest achievements in the world, I think it's just an ill-informed perspective.
My name is Fintan, and I'm a dental technologist. And I'm a feminist because every person, male or female, should be given an equal chance to be whatever they want to be, live however they want to live. They keep pointing out the extremism in feminism. And it's like, we all know that in every movement, in every religion, there are always extremist people.
So yeah, I think he made a good point, but not for his cause. It was more like against his cause, because what has happened recently is that the feminist movement have been hijacked by the extremists, and that has greatly affected the public perception of feminists, because right now the average person feels that a feminist is just a bitter lady. That's just what it is. Like, that's a valid conclusion considering what we read on Twitter. I don't see anything wrong with feminism, and I believe that as a woman, you're within your rights if you choose to be a feminist, because the problems women are facing are real, and there are things that the society needs to address. I think the feminists that are actually fighting for the challenges women are facing should separate themselves from these radical ones, because these guys are giving them a very wrong image. Feminism is not about hating men. It's really not about that. It's about promoting a society that men and women get to exist equally. That's what feminism is at its core. It's not about forcing a man to pay for your lunch or take you out or do all these Twitter talking points. It's really not about that. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.